Money in college. No one really teaches you how to manage money in college. You're just expected to figure it out. You're working, spending, trying to save, trying to enjoy life, and somehow balance all of it at the same time with your school, your commuting, your work. It's not easy. So then the question is, how do you actually manage money when you're a college student? Me, myself, I haven't fully figured it out yet, but after a while of doing this, I've developed some methods of trying to manage my money, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. As you all know at this point, and if you don't, go back to my previous podcasts and listen up to those. But as you guys have already known, I'm balancing commuting, school, work, and everything else in my life. And money is a big part of that. Because while you're in school, every dollar means something. And what you spend it on means a lot. So come along and I'll teach you guys how to manage. When you start earning your own money, your mindset changes almost completely 360. You think twice before spending. You start actually asking yourself, do I really need this? Do I really need whatever I'm going to get right now? Or is it just something to fulfill me right now? Because now it's not just money, it's your time. Every purchase is connected to hours you've worked. And that realization changes everything. For me, the minute I started actually earning my money, the first time I was very reckless with my money. I would spend it on everything I've ever wanted. I would always almost immediately spend my paycheck on whatever it is I wanted. And after a while of doing that, I realized that it's not the best way to manage your money. I started actually needing money for other reasons, such as gas, maintenance for my car washes, everything else. And when I realized I would never have enough money for any of those things, I started to really see how important money is and how valuable it is, instead of, just seeing it as something I can use to buy my needs. But it's helped me realize, whenever I want to purchase something that I've always wanted but don't actually need, I start to ask myself if I really need this, if I'm going to use it, if it's going to be beneficial for me in the future, or if now, any way to help my long-term goals. And if it's not, I simply just put it away. I don't even think about buying it anymore. And once you develop that habit, it becomes really easy to say no to the things you want. I rarely eat out anymore. I don't buy clothes anymore. I have all the clothes I need. I don't buy. The only things I spend my money on is gas and food if I need it. But every other time, I save it. I save. For some of you, this is where it can get a bit tricky, because you don't want to spend everything, but you also don't want to miss out on life. So it becomes a balance of, you want to enjoy college, you want to enjoy everything else that this college experience has to offer, but also be responsible. And that's something I'm still figuring out. I've said this before. I sometimes fold under pressure if I'm around friends and let's say we're going shopping, and I know I already have the mindset that I'm not going to buy anything because I already have everything I need. So I sometimes, when I'm shopping with friends and I see all them shopping and, I see some quality good stuff that I like, I sometimes still purchase it. And that's, in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. I say spoil yourself here and there, but obviously never too much. be moderate with your spending. But it's something really hard to figure out when to, I guess, really enjoy yourself and spend something that you would enjoy, and then it has no beneficial, to something that you don't need. And I think that just goes for preference. If you're doing an event and it somehow costs like an entry fee, I'd say that's okay, as long as the entry fee as well is not too expensive. But I feel like that's mostly up to you guys, what you guys think would be necessary for you guys and what wouldn't. I have full faith in all of you that you guys know wisely what to actually spend your money on. I feel like you all know what is and what isn't needed in your lives. So I would say that's up to you guys. If you guys like those events, then I'd say, sure, yeah, that's okay. But if you like going to the movies, anything else, and you see that it's worth the money, why not? But just my advice is to keep it moderate. Moderation is key, as long as you're not spending too much on whatever it is, then I say go for it, because you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy everything that this life has to offer. So, and you can't just be thinking about money all the time. So go for it. And like I said before, I have full faith in all of you that you guys understand and know what is and what isn't needed for you own. If you really would like to start budgeting and learning how to budget your own money, you really don't need anything complicated. I promise you don't need anything complicated. The only thing I'd say you really need, like really, really need, is awareness, self-awareness at that. For me, it's always been knowing how much I make, knowing how many hours I worked, knowing what my paycheck is going to look like, and calculating from there. If I know I have to save a certain amount of money, or if I know I need a certain amount of money to spend for, I don't know, let's just say a birthday's coming up, or I have something to do for school and I have to pay for it, or the gas, how much you're going to travel. So knowing how much you make really makes a difference of how to budget your money. Another thing would be knowing where my money goes. I know some of you guys have subscriptions or all that. I do myself. But at the end of every month, I look at my statements. I look at what I've spent my money on. I looked at how much I saved, how much I've spent, how much is in my savings, and knowing where all my money is going. Because sometimes when I do look at my statements, I see that maybe I paid for a subscription that I don't really remember. And being aware of that helps out a lot. The minute you cancel it, you easily save a good amount of money, no matter what subscription it is, no matter what you're spending it on. If you see that you saw something in your statements that you should not have made that purchase, being aware of that really does help, because then next time you just know you won't get it next time. You have that awareness. And then the last thing, obviously, would just be avoiding unnecessary spending. Kind of just goes back to the same thing I was saying, subscriptions. If you look at your statements and you see how much of an impact whatever you got had on your account, had on your bank account, you'll then realize that it's not worth it. It's not worth spending that amount of money for something that you don't really need. Even something simple like tracking expenses can make a huge difference. Just tracking it at least once a month. At least. I know a couple people who do it frequently, but my suggestion would be at least once a month. And it's because you can't manage what you don't track. It's too much. I've tried to all in my head, but I can't. I have to write it down. I have to look it up. It's too much to do on your head. So tracking it down, writing everything you spend, it goes a far way for budgeting, and then you'll get the full image of how much your spending is. I know for many of us, me included, it's easy to just think short term in college. But if you really start to think about the long term advantages of what saving money can actually have for you, you start making different decisions. You realize not everything is worth buying. I've realized that the minute I started thinking about my long term goals. It literally just flipped the switch in my head, knowing that it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'd rather save my money and spend it on this when I'm older. I'd rather save my money so I can have at least some sort of backup in my plan. And another thing you'll realize is that not every expense is necessary. It's just not necessary. I've said this before in my previous points, saying that not everything is necessary. You really just have to evaluate on your own, because everybody has different priorities. On your own, what is and what is not necessary worthy of buying. It's up to you guys. And once you once you have this realization, you start building a mindset that helps you later on in life. Once you're an adult and you actually have bills to pay, you actually have stuff worthy of spending your money on, you'll realize that you'll be thanking your past self for saving so much. And you'll be thanking your past self for having this mindset at such a young age, knowing that a lot of others don't really have this mindset. I've seen so many students just go spend stuff on unnecessary stuff. And it's not really wrong, they're just spending on stuff they like, but you'll realize that you've better helped yourself for your future self, and you'll be thanking yourself in the future. So I'd say think long term. Think about the long term goal of what you have, and if the money you spend now is helping you achieve whatever that long term goal is of yours. If you're trying to manage money while balancing school and work, send this to someone who needs to hear it. I know I have many friends who need to hear this. I'm going to assume that many of you and your friends are going to need to hear this. Some people, this goes for everybody, honestly. This can help anybody in any field. So send this to them, and maybe they can get a better view on what budgeting actually looks like. Make sure to follow the podcast. Next episode, we're going to be talking about burnout and mental pressure, because with this lifestyle, there is a lot of burnout, a lot of burnout and a lot of mental pressure. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next episode. And if you're learning how to manage your money right now, you're already ahead of where most people are at. I can guarantee you that. There's many people that don't even have this mindset, don't even know about this mindset. So you're already one step ahead of all of them. Well, I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.